Welcome to episode 133 of Beyond the Brick. I'm Joshua Hanlon.
And I'm Matthew Kay.
And we'd like to thank Brickmania for sponsoring this episode of Beyond the Brick. Our featured kit this week is the World War I Renault light tank from Brickmania. A really awesome kit with over 200 pieces in it, designed by Daniel Siskin. So I'll have a link to that in the description. You can check that out. And you can check out all of their cool products at brickmania.com. Now, joining us on the show this week, we have Joe Miller. He is 35 years old, a math professor, and a member of NeoLug, the Northeastern Ohio Lug. So it's great to have you on the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
Now, as I mentioned, you are a math professor, which I'd imagine with LEGO having all this math, obviously, goes into designing sets and that type of thing. How does that affect your LEGO building?
Well, for some pieces, I get a chance to really involve a lot of the geometry. But usually I'm using the math background to just compute where the hat plates are going to be, so on and so forth. I like things to line up perfectly. That's what I mean when I'm talking about a clean build. And I really like how the geometry of LEGO is set up, so that if you pay attention to what's happening, you can make things work out and make them look clean. I try to incorporate that in a lot of my pieces, such as this little guy here. This is just one of my elaborate containers. I tend to make a lot of containers, and I don't know if really the image online really does the justice, but trying to get everything to line up, I agonized for several hours trying to make something that looks just like this little guy right here. And to make all the plates work, and this whole design, and there are 4 of these that slide in on all 4 sides of this thing. The whole idea behind the design was actually to get little panels to show up through the top here and line up perfectly, because I wanted to make a different version of tiles with grout, where the pieces weren't loose and wouldn't fall apart. So it became a very elaborate design, and sometimes you have to put pencil to paper and compute how many hat plates there are, or you can just futz with them all night. I don't.
Yeah. So that's really neat the way you do that. And looking through your Flickr feed before the show, I noticed that you do a lot with boxes, kind of like you were showing there, and shapes like that. Is that something that you find you can work with easily in LEGO?
I find cuboids aesthetically pleasing. It's sort of just something I enjoy geometrically. Yeah, a lot of my designs are all sort of conceptually designed within some type of cuboid. That's why, if you look at my the microscale city, that one I said it wasn't as clean as I wanted. A lot of people like it, and I'm glad. But it sort of erupted from that cuboid design. So that's what I meant by I felt it wasn't very clean. I wanted everything to sort of fit, and it just didn't work.
You kind of had that base you needed things to fit into and work off from there, and however that looked, that's kind of how it turned out.
Yeah, it kind of went above and beyond, and it was a bunch of various table scraps that I had put together and decided it was time to put them to good use. And one thing I typically find easy to work with my table scraps would be microscale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got a lot of great micro-scale builds there. Now, were there any other builds you had nearby there on your table that were kind of inspired by the more math side of building?
Well, let's see. I have this guy here. Definitely, I did a little bit of geometric computation to determine what angles would be appropriate, and this is inspired by the Hoberman sphere. And this is just the two-dimensional analog of a Hoberman sphere. And this can be made in other sizes as well, with other angles. And this was originally intended to create an expanding copy of the Doctor Who TARDIS, where there would be the parts of the TARDIS would be held into these pins here, and this would expand, and then a console could come up, and so the whole piece could pop out of a single TARDIS, larger on the inside.
That sounds like a really cool idea. So maybe something to pursue in the future with that idea.
I have another idea for a TARDIS as well, not using that idea, but again, larger on the inside. I wanted to feel more like the show. And so I wanted something, it's going to involve some tricky photography, but I want to be, without Photoshop, make it look actually bigger on the inside.
Very cool. A little forced perspective, maybe? Is that kind of into your plan? No?
No forced perspective.
No?
It's a cheap trick. You probably, I mean, if I can make it work, you'll probably see right through it, but I think it'll be compelling.
We will look forward to that thing.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, to cover a little bit of your history with Lego building, is it something that grew out of your math background, or were you building with it as a kid before you got more interested in that type of thing?
Well, I started building with Lego. I had to have been when I was 4. I remember getting sets to augment my collection when I turned 5. And I also had another construction toy. I can't recall. Some type of construction toy, some version of the word construct. And I ended up choosing to play with my Lego more frequently, and I always wanted to build and construct things with that, and that's where I received most of my inspiration. My mother would build with me, and she would build homes, elaborate pieces architecturally, and she had modeled doll houses prior to that. And she always inspired me to build, but I only had such a limited palette of things to work with. You know, with some rainbow-colored home, and I'd have to disassemble it. My mom would be so disappointed that I took it apart because I wanted to see how she built it, that she stopped building with me. But I would say that I had an interest in mathematics at an early age, and interested in Lego as a construction toy at an early age. I think they fed into each other.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of grew side by side. Is more
Yeah.
how it worked. It's not like you had one and then discovered your interest in the other one.
No, I was always interested in mathematics, geometry, things of that nature.
Did you ever have a long dark age or anything, or have you built most of your life?
Oh, no, I did have several times where I had very, very little Lego, and I've sold my Lego collection on a few occasions. I had collected quite a few sets right before I graduated high school. Lego Mindstorms had just come out. Star Wars was hitting really big. So I had picked up a lot of those sets, and I picked up a few classics. The Technic Plotter, the Supercar, the 8880, one of the few supercars that still use the old Technic beams. I loved that set. I took that apart and built it several times after I got it. But at the end of high school, I decided I wanted to pursue something else, and I wasn't sure I was going to keep working with it, so I sold it. A guy from Canada drove down to pick it up.
Those darn Canadians. Ah,
yes, but very, very nice. I later picked it back up a little while after I started into college, but I couldn't get too deep into it. College is expensive. You know the deal.
Well, of course.
And near the end of my PhD, I was really running low on money. I had to sell a lot of things to be able to finish my last semester out, so I ended up having to sell all of my Lego at the time again, which was very disappointing. But now that I'm a lot more financially stable, I'm able to get back into it. But it's a slow process getting back to where I used to be.
So does it make you feel any bit better that at least you were the one making the executive decision to say, oh, well, I think I need to get rid of my Lego, instead of your mom kind of just coming in and saying, you know, you need to grow up, I'm getting rid of it now? Like, how would you feel that that was the situation? Right?
So there was another point in time, right around when I was 10 or 11, my mom had always threatened, if you don't clean your room, I'm going to come in with a trash bag and start throwing things away. And she made good on that threat. And that day, we took out, she made me help her do it, 24 bags of trash. and that was all of my Lego at the time, which was a meager collection. I didn't get a lot of Lego. I just really liked the Lego I had. So it was a while before I was able to get back into it, and that was around the end of high school is when I started spending a lot of money on Lego.
Well, that's respectable. Well, I didn't mean to bring up those bad memories. I apologize, but
I've mentioned it to my mom on several occasions, and it's odd because my interest in Lego some years ago when I was in college piqued her interest in Lego. So she started buying a lot of Lego sets, and I recently bought all of her Lego to augment my collection. I picked up.
So you have one in the end then.
yeah, I did win in the end.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
You got your mom buying Lego. That's about the final step there, I guess.
Yeah.
So how does your participation in NeoLug fit into that? How long have you been going to those events?
Well, let's see. I've only been to a few events, 2 formal events, and then I've been to the Lego store on a few occasions for the discount days. The first time we had a draft, and I really enjoyed drafting. I'd like to do a lot more of that. But it was very nice to meet a lot of the members and to see some of the builds. Now, unfortunately, it's a little embarrassing. I don't recall the member's name. The house we went to. He had a very nice house in Cleveland, all wooden floors, and he had a very nice model he was working on of the home he was living in, that he was working on. Arthur was actually giving him some pointers on how to create some of the effects he wanted on the side of the house. And it was nice to see a lot of the sets that he had chosen as the sets to display, some of the Lego sets he'd chosen. And it was nice to be able to talk to everyone. Then the next event we did was the show in Solon. I just had a few pieces with me. I had that my subway, which I have over there. I can show you if you'd like. And then these little robots, which I have on my page. And these are, I should say, these are heavily inspired by Mitten Ninja's. I don't know his name. I think it's Greg Strom. Mitten Ninja's Mobile Frame Zero Chub figures. That's actually what started to get me back in pretty heavily. Decided I wanted to start building some of those. I liked how they looked in their articulation. So I took those and the subway set there, but I got a chance to see a lot of great pieces. Adrian Drake's Serenity Mule and Arthur's architectural pieces. Those were quite nice. Let's see. And a few of the other members, great works as well. Unfortunately, though, I can't name everyone by name. I've only met them twice, so it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, and just to clarify real quick, the Arthur that you're referring to is Arthur Gujic, correct? Who's another member of NeoLug. For people who might not be familiar, he does a lot of really cool mosaics and builds like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lenticulars that have been viewed off-axis, 2 different axes, you'll see 2 different things. Like the old hologram cards that we put in Donruss baseball packs. Maybe
of course. They're very nifty. They are very. Those lenticulars are really, especially because you can't really appreciate it until you really hit that angle. Like on a, it just looks kind of like, well, that's weird, yeah. And then you know, oh, and then the oohing and ahhing begins.
Yeah, there was a lot of that at the Solid show.
Yeah, it's always fun. I remember when he brought those to Brickworld a couple of years back, he would stand there and tell people, you know, look at it from this direction and you can get this perspective. Walk across the room and look at it from that direction and you'll get a completely different perspective. And it was I know a lot of people really enjoyed seeing those because it is really cool the way that changes.
Yeah.
Now, a few of the builds that we wanted to talk about, you've got some of them there on the table beside you. Your first one was your futuristic military base that I think is right there beside you. This is a really cool micro build that you did.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to...
Sure, there you go, okay.
The webcam's going to focus properly on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with this. A lot of... some of these parts, at least this part right here, actually was supposed to be part of a spaceship, but I never built a spaceship. So it ended up being, it just ended up being this. Yeah.
Okay. So some cool techniques and parts in there. And what was your favorite part of that build? Anything in particular that stood out, or a hard thing to put together?
I think my favorite part are the base walls, and they're just if you can see the piece here, I don't know how easily you can see that at this resolution, but it's one of the plates with a guide for studs, and then I just attached some 2x4 tiles on it. But I had to use one of my favorite pieces. I don't know if you can see those in there.
Sure.
I like any type of snot piece. And these are the 2x2 by 2 tall plates with the studs across the side to get everything to line up perfectly. Because if you can see in the back, the second lip down on these matches perfectly with the grass. I wanted them to be the same height, so I futzed around with that for a while before I finally got it. And yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part, and that's what people comment about as well. It really makes it stand out as a piece. Makes it feel like it almost feels, I guess, less like a futuristic base and more like a prison wall.
A little bit, but yeah, that's a really neat build there. Now, a build like that, do you draw inspiration from any particular place for something like that? A futuristic military base? Is there anywhere online, or is this just kind of sit down and imagine what it would be like?
A lot of my build technique is throw some pieces together and see if I see anything.
Okay.
I have, usually when I'm in a very creative mood, I'll just have Lego strewn all over my desk. And I'll just take random pieces and see if I can come up with something interesting from random pieces. I'm always looking for novel connections or things that I didn't realize could be interesting. I like limiting my creativity somewhat, limiting my palette to try to inspire creativity. So at first, all I really had when I started building this was the tall, the tall skyscraper-like object here in the corner, and I started just taking various pieces from all over the place and seeing if I could come up with something that I liked. Yeah, I can't say it was really well thought out and planned. Some pieces I do have that are well thought out and planned. That was not one of them, nor was the futuristic city. That one also was not well planned.
Still turned out nice in the end, so it's just different styles of building then. You don't always necessarily have to spend forever planning to get a cool build.
Yeah. Yeah, when my silver and gold pieces, I don't know if you can really see these if it's
the AG and AU, yeah.
Yeah. These were planned from the get-go. I had seen I believe it's Lego Junkie who did the Breaking Bad pieces like this, and I liked it a lot, but I wanted it to have everything flush and have no gaps. So I kept planning and planning and planning until I could get to work, and then I determined the letters I could use, and I really liked the idea of doing the chrome silver and the chrome gold for the letters inside. Someone mentioned I should have used dark green instead of white, and if I could have got dark green brackets, it would have looked so much better. But I think probably a better idea would have gone black on the outside, black on the inside, and white around the outside, and then the letters probably would have stood out a lot more.
So do you have plans to do a whole periodic table?
I would love to do a whole periodic table. I actually mentioned that to another member, I can't recall his name, who did Argon, and I really liked his Argon. But I just don't have the parts to do it. But I'd like the idea of doing a whole periodic table.
Yeah, that could be almost like a nice collaborative, right? Everybody brings their own build to the same specifications.
Yeah, sort of like the Great Ball contraption, where everyone brings a module.
Yeah, and maybe it's not. I guess once you get to some funky elements, it'd be sort of hard to assign colors to the letters. But neon, for instance,
110, the 110, the 1-teens. Then there's 3 letters that'd be pretty tough.
Yeah, we'll just do a transclear. Yeah, transclear everything.
Yeah.
Well, what is that? I don't know. Very cool, though. Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you'd be able to find a way to make it work. So maybe something that Neolog could work on in the future.
Yeah, maybe I could turn it into a big collaborative effort, and we could take that to a convention.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Another build that you had mentioned as one of your favorites was the Lego locker room build that you did, and I think was this a collaboration with another builder?
Yeah, Lego Pole Mao. That's Jennifer Spencer, and that's a really important build for me in recent history because that collaborative build with her helped remind me what I really, really liked about Lego. The creativity you could really help fuel. And it was also a lot of fun to work with another builder. And I think the end result came out quite nice.
Yeah, it is a really great build here. You got some cool techniques. It's an interesting idea with the kind of all different suits and costumes going on there in the locker room. What were some of your favorite techniques?
Well, the two things that I would say that I contributed primarily on would be the lockers and the towel rail. And the lockers were very elaborate. It took me several days to plan out and build. If you see some of the photos in my Flickr feed, it's pretty complicated on the backside of that thing. Probably unnecessarily so. I always get the feeling I could do it with fewer pieces and less complication. The towel rail, we actually looked around on Bricklink to try to find a great way to portray a towel on a rail. So we actually ended up going with, I think that's not the curved clip. I think that's the square tip because the end result looked better than the curved clips. And we had considered several other alternatives that elude me now for an alternative for the towel. I think we were going to try using tiles, but it ended up being too thick. Didn't look like a towel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the end, it came out really nice looking. So I can see how those lockers kind of have your look to them with some of those other boxes and stuff you were showing us earlier. So I can definitely appreciate the time you must have put into those. They turned out really great. They're definitely kind of instantly recognizable as a locker type of build.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I noticed was the floor there is interesting. Is that the headlight bricks that you used to make the floor?
Yeah, and Jen actually made that and the shower that's inset, and did it. And it's just tessellating the headlight bricks. What's interesting would be what's underneath the headlight bricks. When you build a floor like that, you have to have the floor actually connects. That whole piece is completely interconnected. And we built the floor. I helped her, determine the spacing on the floor. But we needed some way of supporting the floor underneath, otherwise it bowed. So what we did is we were originally going to use just plates because we couldn't use tiles directly underneath. The space didn't work. We needed a half plate. But plates weren't going to work because the actual Lego lettering on the top of the stud ended up pushing it, ended up bowing up instead of down. So, but then I realized, well, why not just use the 2x2 jumper plates? Because they don't have the Lego lettering on the top because it's a hollow stud. And that's what sits underneath to keep it all perfectly level.
Okay, so you had to get right down to the minuscule little dimensions there. It's the little things that matter sometimes like that can make the difference on a level floor or not.
Yeah, those are the little details that I love about Lego, when putting things together and building them.
So now here's a little tangent I kind of would like to go down, and I think you might be the person to go down it with. So Lego parts are supposed to be identical, right? They're supposed to be like the same exact mold. There's not supposed to be any discrepancy. But I myself have noticed, and many other friends have had the same experience, that sometimes you'll stack a bunch of 1x2s and you'll put it next to a stack of another bunch of 1x2s, and they don't really add up. Do you ever run into this, and is this ever a problem for some of those really precise designs that you do?
Well, not particularly because my designs are small.
Okay.
I don't recall the error tolerance on Lego bricks, but I believe it's in tenths or hundreds of millimeters is their tolerance. And that can go plus or minus. So when you stack up 10, 20, 30, 40 bricks, you could end up with a bunch that are a little too tall or a little too short, and you put two stacks next to each other, and if you choose enough of the short ones, you could make a big difference after 10 bricks.
Oh, yeah.
But for most of my builds, I don't build much bigger than 32 by 32, And a lot of my builds aren't very tall. I'm not stacking a lot of plates. I'm just making plates wide, and the tolerance is still close to a tenth of a millimeter, a hundredth of a millimeter across the entire width. But if you stack a whole bunch of them, you're magnifying that error throughout the entire build.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on about that really only being a problem if you're doing these really large-scale builds, and then you happen to pick those bad ones. But yeah, I think that maybe it's just like a tolerance thing that no child or whoever this toy is intended for would ever run into. So not a problem, but kind of a problem, but not a problem.
Yeah, for the most part, not much of an issue. I mean, within the tolerance is not a problem. I ran into a problem trying to do the, I don't know if you saw the thing I did on the impossible 3x3x3. I think this was something started by Dead Frog Incorporated and Plastic Infinity. It was sort of a challenge put forth. Dead Frog Incorporated said he would give, I think, trophies of some type of trophy he would just make, and it was a photo that he would give to you through Flickr or something like that. And it said it couldn't be done. Well, Plastic Infinity made one, and he used the neck brackets. Now, the neck brackets are something like, they're a weird plate thickness, like 3/8, something along those lines. So it's off very slightly, like a 1/20th of a plate, 1/10 of a plate. So when I tried to build mine, my original design, it really, really aggravated me because I couldn't get things to line up. And it's because it's just slightly thinner than other ones. But it's all in, 20ths of a plate, I think, is the smallest unit that LEGO uses for anything. But that was aggravating. And at first, I had thought that it was just the brackets were without, there was a tolerance problem. But I have a whole bunch of brackets, and I looked at it and I'm like, no, this can't be it. It's just they're actually slightly slimmer than what I thought they would be, which was I thought they were close to a half plate. But they're actually 3/8 instead of 4/8.
Tisk.
Yeah, so we ended up going off on tangents trying to make a better one, and I think Digger 2112, he had made an excellent design that I only improved on slightly by using a 1x2 clear so that I could make the connection. Because the problem all of us were running into was that we couldn't get the bricks to line up internally, and so my solution was to use a brick that didn't have a stud support in the center. Because where this, if you can see the little stud in the center, it doesn't line up perfectly with where the 1x2 brick goes, so I just use something that doesn't have a stud support so I can put it wherever I want it. And then I can just make them line up by sliding them together. And then it looks like it's perfect. Not quite perfect, but good enough. So it's a box with a window in it.
Very cool.
Nice little design there. Now, do you how often do you look at Lego sets that are official Lego sets released by the company and look at them from the math perspective and think like they could have done this better, or that's really cool? Do you look at that very often? How much attention do you pay to the official sets that come out?
Well, I do pick up some sets. A lot of my collection is built up from Bricklink or from Pick-a-Brick, but there are sets that I can't ignore. Specifically, any sets with Unikitty. You've probably seen I use Unikitty quite a lot. I like to slip her into a lot of the photos just in the background if I can. So I have a few of those, and there are times that I think things could be done differently, but for the most part, that's more the Lego enthusiast in me. It's like, if they had done it with this piece instead of that piece, I'd like it more because I like that piece more, and it would still do the trick. Or how that some of the Kuso now Lego idea sets are modified from the original models. I wonder, well, specifically the Back to the Future set, a few people complained about how the hood had been changed from the, what was that? Is that a 4x8 slope?
Yeah, yes, a 4x8 slope. It has that little notch out on the backside. Yeah.
And they changed it from that slope to a blocky design. I know why they did that, so they could accommodate the Mr. Fusion attachment. But I sort of felt that the 4x8 slope should have been included because that really looks like the hood of the DeLorean.
Yeah, I love the argument for the notch. I don't really buy it. I think, You really, I mean, and then this, I remember, I can't, the site escapes me now, but someone made like a very nice posting about how the design really could have featured the slope, and then it could have just kind of clipped in like a little bit, on an angle, and it would have looked fine. It would have maybe looked a little weird, but it's better to have it look weird when you're clipping on that stuff than to have just the bare bones design look weird. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, but Lego has a lot of variables to juggle when they're building a set.
But of
Total
course,
cost, making new molds if need be, printing, so on and so forth. So I always work under the assumption that they run the numbers, and if it can't be done at a certain price point, then they have to make modifications.
if it makes sense for them, it probably just makes sense, right? Yeah.
Well, Lego's been pretty good about keeping prices constant, like 10 cents a brick. And I assume that's because they manage the numbers well, and they manage their manufacturing well.
Mm-hmm. But then now we end up with a shortage of Lego in Canada, though. So that's not working so well for them.
What's that?
The shortage. I don't know if you've seen a few of the stories that came out recently. The shortage of Lego in Canada. I've seen a few. Yeah, they're saying that stores aren't stocking them as much now because Lego just isn't supplying it there.
Wow, that's disappointing. Wow, that. Well, if you can still buy online, right?
That's true. Yeah. Definitely. So I guess that they'll be doing more of that in the future, but it will be interesting to see how Lego solves that problem, if they ramp up production to try to help that out a little bit, or what they do about that.
Yeah, hopefully they help out those Canadians.
For sure.
Now, Canadians like Lego a little too much.
We touched on a couple of your future projects a little bit earlier. Do you have any other big projects you can tell us about that you'll be working on here in the future?
Yes, there's one that I really, really want to work on. I have a big Bricklink order put together. I want to make a standard 9x9 Go board, the ancient game. And this whole box right here was designed specifically for that thing, because I wanted something. You may have seen the tile with grout design. I don't have any examples of that on my Flickr page, but I was going to use that for the intersections on the board, because I wanted the intersections to be finer than some of the other Go board builds I had seen. I have actually a lot of the piece, but I'm not quite ready yet. And I'm going to use some of, what are those called? The X-Pods. I was going to use the X-Pods containers as the Go Stone containers, because they look very similar to the standard Go Stone containers. So I'm really excited about putting that one together. It's going to be very elaborate. Unfortunately, even though this design is very tall, that's perfect because the Go boards are actually quite thick. They're the traditional Go boards.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that.
I think another one you had mentioned earlier was the TARDIS and the build you were trying with that.
Yeah, there's the build using the Hoberman linkages here, and then there's another one, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get to the one with the linkages. That may be beyond my ability. But there's another one I want to build, again, where the inside looks bigger than the outside. And I want to do that without doing any type of photoshopping. I would like to be able to display it at a show so people can walk around and look at it and try to figure it out. And hopefully everything works out. I may find that the design just doesn't work at all. But I've recently got into watching Doctor Who, and it seems like a fun thing to build. And I've seen a lot of excellent TARDIS builds, so I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel with the standard build. I want to go a little bit further than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's certainly no shortage of Doctor Who TARDIS builds in the Lego community. Definitely seems like you see one of those every day, just about. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of fans in the community.
Mm-hmm. And then I also I was going to finish my subway, because this was just a work in progress. The car isn't even done. This is a subway car. So I want to elaborate on this. I want to elongate it. I want to add some more color to it. It's just flat gray. And then I also want to expand on this guy. I put in a metro box since the last photo. But I also want to expand on that, and I would like to put in some elaborate tile work, and possibly a vaulted ceiling done in tiles. Much bigger than this.
And rats and people peeing in the corner, perhaps.
Well, if I want to make it look legitimate, I may do something like that. I do try to, incorporate as many realistic details as possible, but try to put a bit of a fun spin on things, so things don't get taken too seriously.
There you go. That fine line.
Sort of like the military launch. It's nuclear powered, cheese and crackers. Nothing to worry about. It's just how you get them where they need to go. People need to eat cheese and crackers.
Yes.
And sometimes it's on the other side of the planet. So you use an intercontinental ballistic missile to get it there.
Anything.
Anything. People need cheese and crackers.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now, will you be able to make it to any conventions or shows in the future here?
I would like to make it to Brick Fair. That's at the beginning of November in New Jersey. It's too bad I missed Brick Fair in Virginia. That was at the beginning of August. Mm-hmm. But I would like to make it next year. Seems like that would be a lot of fun. And I'd like to have some pieces together to present there. If not, it'd still be fun to meet and greet.
Of course. It's always fun to meet and greet. It's almost even better not to have anything with you, because then you're free to roam around, not tied anywhere.
You don't have to worry about things wandering off.
You betcha.
Yeah, but if everyone had that attitude, then there'd be nothing there. So someone needs to bring something.
Someone does need to bring something, though. So bring something. Yes.
Yeah.
Not good to have nothing.
Yeah. So it would be a lot of fun to bring a few things to present and wander around, meet people, and maybe some people have some stuff to sell.
Oh yeah.
You never know. Now the New Jersey event, this is the first year for that. Am I correct there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And that's in the coming weeks, right?
November 1st and 2nd, I think.
November 1st and 2nd, about a month out. Yeah. Okay. Very cool.
So coming up very soon here.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. So then, among all the different sets that you've seen over the years, do you have any favorite Lego set that Lego's released? One that's really stood out to you as your favorite?
I've always had a soft spot for the old supercar, the 8880. So many great Technic functions involved there. All-wheel steering, all-wheel drive, differentials on front and rear axles, differential off the transmission, was at a 4-speed with reverse. All very, very elaborate. I didn't even realize such a thing had existed until I spotted it on a friend's dresser. And then I said, I have to have that. I gave him $100 out of pocket right there. And I loved it. Loved it to death. And I had several other supercars since then, but that one's the one that I really, really like. Let's see here. I forget the other ones I mentioned. Let's see here. I always liked that one.
What about like the modulars? Have you?
Oh,
those are usually favorites with a lot of people.
How did I forget about the modulars? Probably my two favorite modulars: Green Grocer and the Pet Shop. Then the third would probably be the new Parisian Cafe. That one's another fun one. But the Pet Shop was actually a lot of fun to build. Lots and lots of good pieces, a great color palette, some nice minifigs. That's what I want from every Lego set. New Lego sets. I can't get the supercar all the time, and I can't always use all those parts. But that Pet Shop, something like that, that's good. That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those modulars are really cool, and it just seems like everyone they release gets cool new parts, new minifigs, and really awesome ideas. And I think what's the next one is it like a detective agency or something like that? If I heard correctly, the rumors about the next one.
I have not heard any rumors, so now I'm gonna have to go find out more about that.
I think it's something along those lines. So that should be interesting to see how they do that as well. But definitely a favorite line there from Lego for sure.
Yeah, another one to add to the collection, for sure.
Definitely. Now, I think to finish it out for us tonight, do you have a dream Lego set that you've always wanted to get, or one that you'd like Lego to make?
Well, one I've always wanted was the UCS Millennium Falcon. And I had considered on several occasions, more than once, trying to part it out through Bricklink because I thought I could probably get it cheaper than buying it. You know, some of them were selling for $5,000, buying it outright. But fortunately, cooler heads prevailed. I didn't end up buying all of that. It would be a lot of fun to build. It'd be a lot of fun to make my own take on it, especially if I could get my hands on some of that boat rigging. But the boat rigging, of course, as you know, is the most expensive part. So we'll see. It would be a lot of fun, though, to build my own, but I don't have the collection to do that. I would love that set. I wish I had gotten it when it came out. That one,
yeah.
For sure.
I think every Lego fan has said that about 10 or 20 different times to themselves throughout the years, especially as they've seen it rise in price on the third-party sellers. It's definitely hard to look at today.
Well, I'm very, very happy to still have Green Grocer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's another great older modular set there that's selling for a lot today.
Yeah. But there's no way I'm getting rid of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I want it for the pieces.
Definitely. So cool sets there. So maybe eventually, random Craigslist find, you'll discover a UCS Millennium Falcon or something.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more likely to win the lottery without playing.
You never know. Maybe you never know, but something to keep your hopes up for, keep an eye out for, and maybe you'll find a used one somewhere eventually.
One of these days.
Maybe they'll release a set with a boat rigging in light bluish gray.
Yeah, that's another option. Then it'd be easier to part it out. How much do those go for right now? I don't remember. Do you remember how much they sell?
The last time I looked, I think they were $100 a piece, maybe $100 a pair. They're prohibitively expensive. You don't buy them on a whim.
That's for sure. Yeah, $100 a piece. You aren't buying any piece on a whim at that price. But
yeah, that's extreme. What was it? The red Darth Vader helmet, I think, got up to $50. I don't know how much that sells for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another expensive piece out there. But some of those pieces in really low quantity, I guess that's what happens when a lot of people want them and not many people selling them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very cool set. So definitely something to dream about and keep your hopes up for in the future eventually.
Yeah, I'll keep reaching for that rainbow.
Very nice. Now, before we go, do you want to remind people the best place to keep up with you? Is it your Flickr page, or what's the best place for people to follow you? Okay.
Yeah.
So Flickr, for sure, you can keep up to date with all of your photos there and everything you're doing. So I'll make sure to include a link to your Flickr page and all the other builds we talked about in the description of the video so that people can check all those out and can follow you on Flickr and see all the latest builds you're working on.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We look forward to seeing more from you.
Well, there will be more.
Awesome.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I'd like to remind people about the Brick Builders Club as well. You can sign up for the Brick Builders Club today and start receiving monthly brick swag. You can find out how to sign up at brickbuildersclub.com, and I'll include a link to their website in the description as well. Some really cool stuff in there. You can see behind me here is the brick swag box that you get. So
no, Josh, say swag again. Say swag again.
I didn't want to say anything.
Swag with an E. Swag with an E. Swig. Swig.
Yes, I have been made aware of that before, so I understand. Yeah, you can feel free to leave a comment about my pronunciation as well.
Brick swig with an E. Brick swig.
Feel so led.
So yes, get yourself some brick swig.
I'd encourage you to sign up for it either way, however you pronounce it. I'll have a link to their description. Yeah. I'll have a link to their website in the description. But it was really great having you on the show, Joe. Really nice talking with you, and like I said, we'll look forward to some more builds from you in the future.
Thank you. It was an honor.
No problem. And yeah, obviously encourage you to check out Joe's Flickr page and encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube page here as well and keep up to date with everything we're doing. We appreciate everybody watching. We'll see you next week.